Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today's guest brings New York hustle and heart to the Florida real estate market. With a background in elite fitness management, education, and real estate investing, she's mastered the art of identifying value and unlocking potential, whether it's in a people or properties. After flipping homes in New York, she relocated to Florida and has already closed over 10 million in sales just in her first few years, really this year, as we were just talking about. She's a fierce advocate for families, a sharp negotiator, and someone who understands community from inside out, balancing her real estate hustle with life as a mom of two highly competitive athletes. Whether helping clients find the perfect school district or advising investors, she shows up with passion, insight, and relentless work ethic. Let's welcome Shannon Messina to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast this morning.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thanks
for having me.
I love how AI puts that together for me.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I say this all the time. My regular listeners are probably tired of me saying this after I do this, but if you're not using it, you are missing out. And I'm not saying you might fail in life. I don't think that's the case. But it makes things so much easier. I compile all your information and I shove it in there, and I say, hey, tell me.
It words it beautifully.
Yeah, it words it beautifully. It picks out the key phrases that obviously you put in your bio, right? And puts it in there, and obviously makes you feel good. And then one of the things I've been doing recently, and I'll go through this to kick us off here a little bit. I asked it, give me 5 things that makes Shannon exceptional and unique. And this is what it told me.
Oh, okay. I'm ready. Lay it on me.
She's a high value achiever early in her real estate career. All right, obviously a point. A diverse professional background that sets her apart. Authentic community roots and family focus. Hyper local focus on St. Johns County and affluent neighborhoods, which I think as we get into discussion today has probably been part of your success, being hyper focused. Engaging, consistent social media branding. That might be you don't agree with that.
Well, I don't like social media. I hate social media, actually. And unfortunately, with this job, I have to aggressively be on it all the time. And it has helped my business 100%.
Yeah. Have you, I think for anyone, whether you've been in the business just getting started or you've been in this business 10 years, you've got to be using some level of social media as part of at least your marketing to your circle of influence.
Yeah.
And just to stay top of mind.
I mean, everyone's on their phone 80% of the day. They're on a device.
Yeah.
So if you're not showing up on their device, you're not relevant. Unfortunately, that's just how we've come.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really sad, but it's how the world is now. Everything's on your phone or on a tablet or on a computer, and that's where people are searching things.
Well, I agree with you 100% on that, because if you think about it, we're all there. So whatever thing we need in life, and a lot of times people just have a short-term memory, and they just result back. Oh, who was the last person that was we need to sell the house. This has come up, or we're talking about selling the house, and the first person they think of is probably the last person they saw talking about real estate. And if you're not that person,
if you weren't that real, that popped up.
Yeah.
100%.
And then you got to build the credibility, which I want to tell everyone they need to be. Not only obviously you're listening to Shannon today, but you need to go back to my episode that's coming out tomorrow with Jim Cronin. All the real estate agents need to be listening to that, and the importance of your website now with AI and so forth, just to throw that in there a little bit. But let's kick off, Shannon. Tell us a little bit about growing up in New York. Well, 18-year-old Shannon, what is she, aspiring to be in life? What was your vision at that time?
Well, let's see. My high school year, I was very into sports, volleyball player, basketball player, and my coach in high school told me that I was overweight and slow.
Okay.
So that brought me to Lucille Roberts, where I ended up meeting my husband.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been with my husband for 20 years. We've been married almost 18. I have my 2 beautiful kids. My whole career has been fitness based on that one comment to me.
Is that right?
Is that not crazy?
That sets you off.
I wanted to be a teacher. Before that, I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. I want to be a high school teacher. And once I joined the fitness world, I was like, no, this is where I want to be. So I became a personal trainer. I worked for New York Sports Club for years and did their learning and development for all their new hires. So I ended up being basically like a trainee. I was training everybody, general managers, sales reps. They wrote some modules after me for sales, and that's where I think this has helped me in every aspect of real estate, is building rapport with people. That was my whole thing in the fitness world. Like, you're dealing with vulnerable people, and I feel like real estate is a very vulnerable transaction, because it's a lot of money. It's their prize and possession. It's where they're going to create memories. They're going to build a family. A lot of people, are spending all their money on the max of what they could afford, and it's a big deal to them. So building rapport with people so they feel like, okay, you're going to handle this. You're going to take care of me. You're handling my money and my future.
Well, I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would imagine in the personal training world, you may have people that hire you for a couple of sessions and then they're gone. But
yeah,
that's not really going to get you very far. It's not going to help you have some peace of mind of making a living in that industry if you're constantly having to fill in people every day, because you only get them for a couple weeks and they're gone, and then you got to fill in that time slot and so forth. Where if you're building that rapport, you're being authentic, as we mentioned earlier, to that person being personable. They want to see you a few times a week or whatever, in that training world. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why I got picked to do some training, because I had the most retention. I mean, any clients of mine watching this, I had to part ways because I was moving, or I had to part ways because I had a baby, or I had to part ways because I'm now in Florida. How did I keep my clients for so long? We build this relationship. And I feel like any sales transaction, you have to build the relationship first in order to succeed and get them to where they want to go. You can't just bypass everything and I'll find you a house. You need to know what their future goals are, where they want to go, what they're looking for, what does their family life look like, so you can make sure that they're happy where you put them. So I feel like with any sale, you really need to build rapport with that client first and get to know them before you could take any step on selling them anything.
Are you doing that? I think it comes natural to some people, where I call it the gift of gab. They just start talking and asking questions, and it just goes back and forth, and it just naturally happens. Or are you measuring yourself? Are you going in there a little bit and going? You're going, hey, okay, I need to put on my gift of gab face, and I need to just start talking, whether it's about real estate or anything. I need to actually start a conversation to open this can up and let these people spill out to me, and that way we can start building. Are you consciously thinking about it, or is it kind of just naturally flows with you?
So I feel like when I teach this to somebody in a sales course, it could come off so phony and not genuine, and it'll never work for them. I have this curse where I think I overshare. So when I'm oversharing and expressing my own personal struggles and my own things that I'm going through that maybe relate to them, it just allows this comfortability that we can open up to each other and really get to the bottom of whatever it is they're looking for. So I don't know if it's a gift. I think it's more of me just being that person that has
naturally inquisitive of their, because talking to agents all the time, and they call me about their transactions, and this is what I'm doing. And I think this is what separates some of them. They don't go deeper on some of the statements that customers say, because they're saying something to us, and that may not be actually what their challenge is, or they're spilling out words to us, but we've got to really, what does that mean to them?
Yes.
We hear something, but what does it actually mean to them is more important. We've got to go a little deeper on something, because I'll come back and say, okay, well, they told me this, and then they told me no. It's because you didn't go deep enough to understand what they actually told you. You heard something, but because you didn't ask the next question, you didn't get the meaning of what they said.
because I think people aren't really listening. They're focusing more on their next question.
Yes.
They're focusing on what they want to say next rather than taking in and feeding off what they're being given. Like, use the resources that they're opening up and saying to then ask your next question. Don't have a script.
Yeah.
Let's let this conversation go wherever it needs to go based on what they're giving you.
I think if they, we see these scenes on TV or in movies where the psychologist is sitting there and the person's, laid back in the chair and they're asking them questions, and the psychologist is very patient, asks the question and really sits back and waits to see how they react, how fast they react, what they say.
Yeah, therapists really say very little.
Yes.
It's almost like you're giving yourself the therapy in a therapy session.
Right. And that is really a key of what you're doing in real estate.
Yeah.
You've got to be open, because of all the reasons why people move. We like to assume and go right, oh, they're moving because, they're changing jobs. Well, why are they changing jobs, right?
Do they lose their job, or
Yeah.
they're not making enough money, their financial situation changed, are they getting divorced? Like, there's so many sensitive topics that come up with moving.
Yes.
So I feel like you really need to be that person that they can trust and be comfortable with.
Do you find most clients, that you've been working with, after they warm up, after you have some of those, even questions that have nothing to do with real estate, all of a sudden it starts to spill out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I've the craziest transaction. Can I go off script here?
Yeah, of course. There's no script here.
I'm in my second year of real estate. I did this solely because, we left New York because our business completely crumbled during COVID. So we basically had to start fresh. And I flew out here by myself. And I put an offer on a house, and I went home and I said, pack up, we're moving to Florida. My husband always wanted to move to Florida, but my whole family, we're Italian. My whole family's in New York. They're like, you're not leaving with the only grandkids we have. And I'm like, I had my own reasons why I had to leave New York, and we made this big, drastic decision and moved out here, and it was the best decision we've ever made. But where was I going with this? Oh, so we had to start new careers.
Yes.
Yeah, we dropped everything that we were doing, all of our investments. They shut us down in New York. We had to start over.
Yeah.
So we came out here, and I'm like, you know what? Every house we've ever bought, I get bored easily. So it's like, I would buy a house, I'd renovate it, sell it for a huge profit, get a bigger house. Now I have more money to put down on a house. I did it like 7 times. And eventually we got to that $1 million home because we profited over and over and over again on all the homes that we bought and sold. And I was like, you know what? I need to get more into real estate. I love sales. I love people. I need to keep busy. I can't just be a stay-at-home mom. That's never who I was. And my husband's like, I've been telling you for years to do real estate. Do it. So we came out here. I got my license, studied my butt off, and I was like, oh my God, this is really hard. Nobody knows me. My reputation is in New York.
Right.
Like, unless I'm getting a buyer who wants to move where I just moved,
right.
None of these people know who I am. I'm this New Yorker. So,
which there's a lot of us here.
There is a lot of us. I know I have my phone number on the back of my truck, 516, and I've actually gotten business from that because fellow New Yorkers are like, all right, I'll trust you. You're from New York. But anyway,
that could work both ways.
I know, definitely could work both ways. So nothing was really happening. I had somebody from New York reach out to me. It was actually a security guard at my kids' kitty care that reached out to me and was like, hey, I saw you're doing real estate in Florida. We're interested in moving to Florida. Can we go check out? So they flew out. I toured them through a for sale by owner home that had cameras up. And I'd only done a few transactions at that point. And the seller called me and said, I really like the way you presented my house. I watched you. I was like, oh my God.
I was hoping you were going to say that you said something.
This could have went bad too, because I am sometimes brutally honest.
Yeah.
But that seller asked me to relist their home. They had a hard time selling it for sale by owner, and based on how I did on touring my clients, they asked me to relist the home. So I listed the home, found out that they were parting ways and they needed homes. So got them into homes. And then a year later, his mother-in-law needed a home. So it was like that one transaction turned into so many transactions, and it was all word of mouth and referrals and how I handle my business. And I think referrals building relationships.
Yeah.
This whole thing's going to be about relationships for me. Watch.
Yeah.
Building relationships is what gets you to that next step.
Yeah.
People talk.
How did you? Obviously, you stayed in touch with this person.
Yeah.
Because it was a year.
I love them. They're like one of my favorite clients.
Having been a business owner, now you jump into real estate. I think one of the biggest mistakes, and even some top agents now there's many agents I think have failed and gone the wayside, so we'll never heard them say this. But one of the biggest mistakes they did is really staying on top of, getting out to as many people as possible. But every client that you actually work with, you have to treat as, I call it, a billboard. You really have. They are your marketing.
They're your
person.
Free marketing.
Free, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you come in with that sort of conscious, or it's just starting to flow with you, and now obviously you're thinking, because you're talking about it, that you're starting to build it, or did you kind of kick off your business with this kind of mindset?
I think I've always had this in the back of my head, like with personal training, with sales, with running a gym. I got referral business all day long. That's pretty much how I did it. A lot of people in the fitness industry, they outside prospecting, like you have to go out and hunt for your people to come in and bring them in. And that is true, but I really never had to do that. I never had to go out and hunt for food.
Right.
The people that came in front of me, I held on to them, and I really made sure I took care of them, start to finish, and that is what brought other people in.
Yeah, you wowed them. I think I always like that saying. Does the falling tree in the woods make noise if no one's there to hear it? And I say that because I think a lot of people don't understand. They don't know if that person that you're treating really well, this customer, are they actually going out and talking about you, right? You don't know because you're not there to hear them talking about you.
Yes.
But if you're giving them all the special service, whatever you want to do, call it, going above and beyond, all those things, all those phrases you want to use, they are almost forced to talk about you. Because you've become part of them, and now because you're pouring in so much into them, they're thinking about you a lot of times. So someone said anything about fitness, then you got to call Shannon.
Well, this is not a me business. This is I could not be where I am without all the people that have come my way in my path. Friends, family, just new acquaintances. They're the ones that are making my business thrive. They constantly have been in support. Anyone that has trusted me to help them with real estate, they have been my cheerleader. They have, from start to finish, have brought me, new people, talked about me to anyone that they knew in their family, and it's just led to more business. And I really could not have done it with any of my customers. That's I have.
How many have you moved from New York that were in your general area, or some part of your, whether you knew them directly or they were part of your knew somebody in your circle of influence in New York?
So I would say I've now 6 families from New York.
Yeah.
I've moved or they're building and they're
that
almost
either
done.
knew you or knew someone that knew you.
Yes. Friends of friends, or social media acquaintances,
Right.
or someone who was on a Freedom Mom group, someone I went to high school with that I haven't spoken to since high school. And they were like, oh, someone I went to school with on this Freedom page. Oh, she went to St. John. She moved to St. Johns County. Call her. I was like, and they called me. And they're like, oh, someone that you went to high school with told me to reach out, and we got him a house. So it's like, it's wild.
Yeah.
How word of mouth, how social media works too.
Well, I often think, if I didn't have social media, would I know where so-and-so is in their life right now? You know what I mean? How that's actually made the world that much smaller.
Yeah.
From that aspect. Are you doing anything, or maybe you have visions of maybe something to do? Because I think the one area that I'd like to get into is more of the Facebook targeted marketing, because obviously the stats are there that the people who are moving to Florida, besides people from Duval County moving to St. John's, they're the number one people moving to St. John's County. Is people from Duval County moving to St. John's.
Yeah.
That area of New York is high on the list of people moving here to target market that area of through Facebook? Have you thought about that, or doing any sort of marketing up there for that? Because I know you're here.
I haven't had like a strategic marketing plan. I've been using an amazing photographer, Elise. I love her. And we've been just doing these little social reels that I do with every listing, and I post those and do all the hashtags that you're supposed to do, and they make their way to tons of views because I've just stayed on top of it.
Right.
And those are hitting New York people, and I'm getting calls and, oh, we saw, that home.
It's just, I was just wondering if you put a little fuel on the fire by directing it, how much actually that would change the amount of calls, because you're naturally getting the calls because you have a lot of friends already up there, and it's going through them from that standpoint. Let's step back. So you moved down here. Were you already thinking about, was real estate on when you're making the move? Real estate's like, that's what I'm going to get into first, or you get here and start to kind of see the lay of the land and then say, hey, maybe real estate is where I need to go.
I registered for my test before officially moving down here. We found a house down here first, obviously, and then once we were under contract, I was like, what am I going to do when we get there?
Right.
And I started studying for my course. Also, right before I moved here, I had eye surgery. I had a brain lipoma that they discovered during COVID. And at that time, you had to go to the doctor by yourself. I was like, you couldn't have any support. I had these headaches. I was losing vision. 25 MRIs later by myself, they're like, all right, it's not cancerous, but it is taking your vision. I'm like, oh, great. Awesome. So I was a TA at the time in the kids' school, and I couldn't drive anymore. Like, my vision was
getting that bad.
It was so bad I couldn't drive. So being very active, having to be in front of people during a time of COVID and masks and whatnot, I was now stuck home. Then my kids were stuck home. And I just felt like our whole lives were spiraling in a direction I didn't want it to go. So I had surgery. At this point, I could see, but it was a struggle. And it would get worse throughout the day, stress, being tired, whatever. I had surgery, and it made it 100 times worse where I couldn't see at all. And this was after we had decided to move to Florida. So here I'm moving out of state, leaving my family, and I can't see. I couldn't see for 9 months.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
I took my real estate license with a pirate patch. My eyes couldn't focus. One was down inside my socket. And I literally, with a pirate patch, studied for my exam with one eye and took my test with one eye, passed. And then I was like, I can't even go into the public. I look like Cookie Monster. It was really, really hard. I had another surgery with a doctor here in Florida, and Dr. Das, and she saved my vision. I have 20/20 vision. I can see straight.
That's awesome.
So I feel like after not being able to do anything for so long, that maybe my hustle is coming from my view of life, which is it's too short. Like, get out there and do what you want to do.
Right.
So
I can't imagine. When you said 9 months without really being able to see, I've often thought about, man, how do people that are born blind, it's like, I mean, because they've never seen something to be able to even visualize what there's a street. Well, they've never even seen the street before. They don't know what a curb. When you say curb, what's a curb?
Yeah.
What's a sidewalk? All these things that we take for granted with sight, and then to lose it for 9 months.
I mean, we're talking
and
about,
you got kids
cooking dinner, like cabinets, like reaching for things that you can't see and trying to figure out, like. And then my husband took a new job because we moved out here.
So he was
living in another state.
Oh my God.
So now I have no family. I have my 2 young kids in a new state, and I can't see. It was like I couldn't drive half the day. Like, I would have these moments where they would focus, but I couldn't drive.
Right.
My kids around.
Oh my goodness.
It was brutal. So I think when things kind of worked out for me with my vision, I was like, I'm not taking life for granted. I'm doing what I want to do.
Well, I'm glad you bring this. This is and I hadn't built this in, but it's been something I do recently, because eventually I am going to write a book on because you're episode 286. So I've interviewed probably 270 of the top agents in the area. And I am the inspiration of the meaning or underlying part of the book is grit. If you've never read Grit by Angela Duckworth,
I love that word, grit.
Yeah, you need to pick up the book by Angela Duckworth. It's really good. Everyone has grit at a certain level in their life. Obviously, we're talking about real estate agents, so I'm focused on that. And obviously, the best ones have some level of grit. This obviously set you back, and when you came out of it and got your sight back, you had a different vision on life and what you were going to do. But now you obviously start real estate, and I know everything has not been sunshine and roses.
No. Oh my God. My life is full of obstacles, and I feel like they're thrown my way for a reason. I'm like,
exactly.
Keep throwing them.
I tell myself that all the time.
Yeah.
What are you trying to tell me now?
I actually got an award for my tennis team that I'm on. My award was like, these things only happen to Shannon. Like, if you go hiking with me, we will encounter a bear. Like, that's just the way things go for me, and I'm okay with it.
I don't know if bear or rattlesnake, which is worse.
But yeah, no, I'm glad you're writing a book about grit. I think grit is...
Well, specifically in this thing, so I call it LLC. You got to have your LLC, and what I mean by that is you got to love and you got to have some laughter. And I mean by laughter is we get punched in the gut, we fall on our face for different things in life. Mm-hmm. Obviously, your setback with your eyes and so forth, was you kind of probably felt like I'm sure a lot of times were really depressed because you couldn't see her, and you fought through it. And now, I want to say I wouldn't laugh about the sight thing, but in real estate and business, we're thrown a curveball, deal goes sideways. All of a sudden, people say, "Oh no, I don't want to list my house anymore." Or the buyer says, "Hey, I went to the builder and I didn't mention you, and you're not getting cut in." That kind of stuff going on, and you get those setbacks. Or a good friend goes and uses a different realtor. That's another one, right?
Yep.
And we laugh about that now. We're really hurt at the time and really punches the gut. And we're like, "Why are we even doing this?" But now at cocktail parties or on a podcast, we talk about and laugh about it.
Yeah.
That type of thing. And then C being consistency. So the LLC. Tell me why you love real estate.
I love real estate because, one, I'm in control of how much money I make. I love that. I never did well with a boss. And all my bosses out there probably have a love-hate relationship with me. They love my performance, but sometimes I like to do things my way. And I don't think I could ever be on a team for that exact reason. I thought about that. I'm like, I'm getting really busy. Like, I don't even have a transaction coordinator. I like to do everything myself, start to finish. And that's probably a good thing and a bad thing. I'll never take on more than I can handle. I don't do this for the money. I do it because I really do love it.
Well, the money is a nice reward at the
100%,
end because obviously it makes it easier for the kids, go on vacation, go out to dinner when you want to go out, not going to think about it.
Yeah. But I think I do this because I'm in control of my schedule for the most part. I make myself available 24/7, so that's a lie. I don't even know why I said that. That's
schedule 24/7.
Schedule is I do it for the schedule to work around the clock. I have clients that text me at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, and I'm available. Listen, I'm going to get paid quite a big chunk of money. I need to be available if you have a question. Yeah. So why I love real estate, it would be for me being in control of my future, being able to be out in the field and talking to people because I am a people person. I'm a social butterfly, so I definitely need to be out there. I think one of the top reasons I like it is because it makes me uncomfortable. I like to do things that make me uncomfortable. I've never been on a podcast. I think I hyperventilated before coming here. But I love that feeling of putting myself in a position that's really uncomfortable and then
do you think that comes from the training aspect of your life where you obviously had to keep yourself fit, but then you're pushing others to do stuff that they wouldn't normally do themselves?
Yeah, I think that absolutely could be playing a huge part in that.
Yeah.
It holds me accountable too. I think that's what I liked about personal training is I can't go around and tell you what to do if I'm not going to physically do it myself.
Right.
So it held me accountable to want to stay in shape, want to eat healthy, want to be a good model to my kids. I feel like that's with any business. Like, I can't go and tell you how to spend your money in real estate unless I'm actively being smart with my investments as well.
Right.
So I practice what you preach.
Yeah.
So I love real estate for sales. I love it for the people aspect. I love it for the control of my own future. And it's
do you
fun.
get a little high off, because obviously you're making marketing decisions, you're doing this, and when you do something, whether it's just hold a really great open house or whatever, and you get that feedback, or obviously you're able to get a deal from something you do, you kind of get a high because it was like, yeah, that was my idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I.
No, I think we all. I mean,
yeah.
everyone likes their idea to be successful, and I think
pride, of course, is a sin we all have. But like,
yeah.
I like to have pride in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I do like to feel good if I have a success story. I broke some records recently in St. John's Golf with selling at the highest per square foot, and it felt really good. I went on that listing appointment, and I'm like, they wanted to sell their house at that number, and I'm like,
yeah.
You know what? If I lived here and I did the work that you did to the home, and I've done that with my own homes. I've had the very first time I sold my very first home we bought, I sold it for $100,000 more than we bought, and I maybe put $15,000 into it. And I wanted to sell because I wanted a bigger home. And I interviewed a real estate agent, and she was like, you can't sell your house for that much.
Yeah.
So I listed it with her for what she told me to sell it for. And I saw her just kind of like standing there and letting people tour themselves. And I was like, I could do this. Like, why am I hiring you? And I'm paying you, and I'm selling it for less than what I think it's worth. So after our contract was up, I listed it for $50,000 higher than what she told me I could sell my house for, and I sold it for $10,000 over ask. So I'm like, for sale by owner, didn't have to pay anybody. Sorry, I'm probably ruining my own business here. But
well, not everyone has that talent, and that's why I was just writing a note down, because I want to make sure I go back.
Selling a house as if it were your own.
Yeah.
I go in the mindset of my client. What do you love about your home? What did you do to your home? Why do you think your home is worth that? And I will push that on every person I tour your home to if I believe it too. And I did. In this instance, I was like, yeah, this is well above market value. But yeah, you have a one-of-a-kind home, and people will see that. So I did. I pushed it, and we got it.
We're gonna go, well, I'll go back to the laughter part here, because I want to dig into this part that you just brought up, since it's top of mind. So many people get out, they get a listing appointment, and maybe a lot of times, sometimes they're laydowns because, hey, my girlfriend told me to use you, so here's my house, sell it. And they don't take the time to actually do what you said, have that person sell it to you. Or I had a great agent on, and I apologize for not remembering, it was one of in the last 3 or 4 episodes, where walking the sellers through their own house.
Yeah.
And especially if they need some little TLC that needs to be done before obviously listing it, and going, what do you see here? What would a potential buyer see here? And really going deep into it, so you can turn around and show the house. So tell us a little bit about your mindset when you have someone, a buyer. Obviously, a lot of times the listing agent doesn't always have a chance to actually show the house, but obviously you could always prep.
Like in my open houses, or if I have my own buyer I could bring to my listing. Like, I've represented buyers and sellers on the same transaction many times now.
Oh, okay. That's gravy right there.
Yeah,
right? That's
and
super.
I've now done it 3 times this year, and it's because I feel like the trust factor, of course. They need to trust me to handle both sides. But I'm also giving facts. Like, this is what I learned about this home. This is why they love it. This is why it's priced the way it is. Do you see the value? Do you like what they did to the home? Like, if you're going to go in and change everything, and maybe this isn't the home for you. We're not going to offer $50,000 less because you want to change everything about the home.
Yeah, go find a different home.
Go find a different home. Yeah. So, no, I feel like you really need to know what they love about their home, what they did to their home for you to sell it.
Right.
Like, if you're going to sell a pencil for
they just spent so many years there, so they know all the nooks and crannies that you may just walking in the first time, second time, whatever, walking through, you might miss
Oh yeah.
that they didn't realize that they felt, hey, the way this is set up, their outdoor kitchen or whatever it might be is so convenient. To bring those little things up or phrases or things to point out to a potential buyer. Like you said, you've been fortunate to get both sides of the deal. Every agent would love to have both sides of every deal they did, right? They'd only have to do half as much.
Those happened because they came to the open house, didn't have an agent, and I sold them the home during the open house. Because I really show pride, like as if I was selling my own home. When I'm touring someone around my open house, I'm touring them like, this is my home. This is why it's why it's the one for you. Why you need to buy it.
Right.
So yeah.
I like that phrase, and I hope we pick it up on a short. What you just said. I show the houses like it's my own.
Yes.
That's important.
Well, that's why I got into real estate, because I had so much success selling my own homes in New York. Like, I did this, and like I staged it and I painted it and it's furnished a certain way. Maybe it's not worth, if you go price per square foot and what's sold in the neighborhood, but it presents in such a different light based on people liking what I did to it, that it does sell, because people sometimes don't have that vision to get the home to look the way that one of my homes look like.
I was having an interesting conversation with Michelle Tremblay. She's big on open houses. She's very fortunate to do a lot of sales out in the Ponte Vedra Beach area, so high price point. She likes to have champagne and everything at her open houses.
Yes.
She puts on a show. What are some things that you're doing at your open houses to not only physically but also starting from the greeting coming in? Because I think having been in sales and having worked retail before myself, it's very important when someone walks in the door of your business, that
It's that 5-second rule, right?
Yeah, immediately you disarm them and make them feel comfortable.
Okay, so I've done some fun, funky open houses. I've had coffee trucks. I've had ice cream before school, ice cream truck parked in the front. Yeah.
Before school?
Like before school started, I'm like,
Are you talking about physically in the hours of the day, or are you talking about before, like in the summertime?
Well, during the summertime,
okay.
I did an open house a week before.
I thought you were out there at 7:30 in the morning.
No. I mean, I'm good. I'm not that good. But like, I'll feed off of the environment, the home. I did a Margaritaville open house recently, and I did that because the home had these amazing Margaritaville vibes. So I'm gonna play that up. So yeah, we served margaritas and Cristal burgers, and it was an amazing turnout. So yeah, I think themed open houses are important, feeding off of what the house is giving off for the open house too. Like some houses that I have that are very bougie and high end, like, yeah, we're gonna have truffles and champagne at this one.
Right.
We're gonna give you a vibe when you come in.
You gave me an idea. Because I think about it, in St. John's Golf, the kids all, to go to the bus stop, right? There's this pile of golf carts and parents dropping them off or whatever, and there's just this group there. I'm like, if you had an open house on that street, or very close to that bus stop, to go there with coffee in the morning, your little coffee van, and
so smart.
And talk, because have you found you've done very well in St. John's Golf, where we both live. It's very much like many of the other subdivisions in St. Johns County. People move in there because they have a friend or family member already in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I feel like that's our neighborhood is very, when you're in there, you don't want to leave there. People move within the neighborhood a lot, but they bring other people to live in their neighborhood too, because people come to visit them and they see like what an amazing community it is, and they
sell it. They brag about.
Yeah, they already did half the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, all right, who should we use to find a home in there?
Right. So are you when you got the open, you got a new listing? Are you doing anything to the immediate area to go off what we just talked about, to try to recruit some of those people who already own houses around, to recruit this buyer in for you?
Yeah, bring your own, pick your own neighbor. Like, who do you want to move into your neighborhood? Like, this is your opportunity. Talk to your friends and family.
Are you doing some sort of are you doing a mailer? Or are you just doing some flyers?
I have not paid for like real marketing. It's just conversation.
Okay.
And your wife does an amazing holiday party every year. That's how I met. I mean, I moved here and knew nobody.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
again, me loving that uncomfortableness. I'm like, yeah, I've never lived in a community in New York. Like, I barely spoke to my neighbor in New York. Sorry, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So now I'm like in this community where everybody knows who I was before I even moved into the home somehow. And she threw that Christmas party, and I'm like, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to go. We had to stand up and say who we are, where we're from, with our white elephant
Right.
gift. I met so many amazing women. I made so many good friends from that one event. So I'm like, that is what I need to do. I need to put myself out there. I need to talk to people, communicate, make connections with people. And that works well for my kids. That's how they met friends. It works well for getting my kids into sports, because I learned where to send my kids to sports. Really leaning on other people and making connections with other people helps every aspect of your life. You can't do
So
this alone.
I'm gonna cut that out. What you just said about the Christmas party for her. I'm gonna
Okay.
cut that out of here so she could use it for advertising this year for any of the new moms that have moved into the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think any and all that participate, because there's other women that do other things during the course of the year. Jen's just like tried to just cornered that thing to be the Christmas one.
I love it.
Thing there. So let's go back to we got why you love real estate. Tell us about a situation that really challenged you since you've been in the business, where you were like, oh my, am I really doing the right thing? Do I really want to do real estate? Has there been a transaction or just something that's happened that's kind of really just kind of punched you?
Yeah, we all make mistakes. I definitely have made a mistake on a transaction, and I owned it and I took care of it. It was over a refrigerator. In New York, you leave your washer, dryer, and refrigerator. Here in Florida,
Unless you state
otherwise, but nobody would think to, like, I'm taking my washer and dryer with me, or I'm taking my refrigerator. But that is something very common here, where people take their refrigerator, washer, and dryer with them. So I got a listing and, wasn't thinking much about this refrigerator situation. And they put in there that they were taking it.
Basically, if what you see, they expect even the ceiling fans, unless you state that that's not staying, right?
So I represented the buyer on this transaction too. And the refrigerator, I put in there that they were taking it, but then I didn't disclose that to my buyer.
Oh.
So now come walk through, the refrigerator's not there. And I'm like, no, and they thought like that the seller was being shady,
scrupulous,
and I'm like, no. I'm like, this is all on me. Like I gave money. I was like, take my money out of my commission for a refrigerator. Like this is nobody's fault but mine. Like, don't blame anybody but me. There's more to the story, but yeah, no, I definitely, people make mistakes, and you have to, and I remember that feeling of when they went on the walkthrough and there was an issue with the refrigerator. I was like, oh my God, I was like, this is my fault. Like, shoot, like you're juggling, this whole transaction's going to fall apart over a refrigerator. I've had a few situations.
Well, it gave you that cold chill up your spine, but obviously it was great that you had both sides of the deal, and you could say, hey, all right, I'll just buy the refrigerator and we'll call it a day.
Yeah. But there was more to it.
There was more to it.
Yeah, there definitely was more to it.
That was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, that was just the tip of the iceberg, and I feel like things are very high level stress sometimes, and you're getting it from all ends, trying to get to the closing table, and things could go sideways real quick, and it's kind of how you react that will help you see the sale through fruition. And I have to take a step back, evaluate the situation, and I always figure out a way. And this is like with somebody getting approved for a loan, like,
talk about how you matured through that. Because I think one of the challenges, a lot of agents come on and they always they'll gesture something about the inexperienced agent who obviously is getting emotional about the negotiation and so forth, versus just being the conduit between the buyers and sellers. The two agents need to just be the mediators, and obviously the win is getting to the closing table.
Yeah.
And so some's got to give, some's got to take, and that goes back and forth. How you've matured in that? How did you act initially when some of these tougher negotiations, to, like you said, now you sit back, someone calls and they're, oh my God, the sky is falling. You hang up the phone. You don't immediately call the next person and start.
No.
Now
there's
it's like,
never an
let me
immediate
go, cook dinner or whatever. Let me take a half an hour. Let me come back, and then I'll.
So I think this goes. You could ask my sister, my mom, my husband.
They're your vents.
They always say, like, if there's a way, Shannon will figure it out.
Okay.
Like, if I'm told no, I will be relentless and I will figure it out. And that's with, with a client not getting approved for a loan to move forward in a home. Okay, people get rejected in Hollywood all the time on movies. They somehow become famous, right? It's because they keep trying.
Right.
So let's call a different loan officer and like we'll figure it out. And I've gotten people into homes that have been told no.
Yeah.
And you have to be relentless. And I think that's with anything, with negotiating deals. Like, no, their hard line is this. Well, is it? Is that their hard line? With representing buyers, and we get rejected on sometimes a lower offer. We figure it out.
Yeah. I'm gonna just tee off on your loan officer thing, since that's my world. I've been in the business 20 years, and every institution, there's some things that they do and don't do, for whatever reason it is. Credit score cutoffs, it just, they don't want to deal with it, because there's more, obviously the lower the credit score you have, there's a lot more things to do. It clogs up pipelines if you're doing a lot of good loans, and then all of a sudden you got this batch of loans where people got challenges. People have to spend time on working through those.
Yep.
And so they cut off. There's just, hey, we don't want to do that type of loan.
We're running into a lot of like debt to income ratio issues. I feel like America as a whole is running
Well, there's
way more debt than we used to.
In the affordability of the houses, obviously, with interest rates where they're at versus in the price point, that's coming to a crossroad, so to speak. But it's what I always recommend the agents that are listening. It's important that you have 2 or 3 agents, and then you need to do a little due diligence on your, us loan officers, just like the real estate people. We'll say a lot of things up front. Oh yeah, we'll do that deal, we'll do that type of stuff, and then they get it and they sit on it and it's like, we're not going to do this deal, but I can't tell her I'm not going to do this deal because I told her we were going to do this deal, but I can't and all of a sudden it sits there for a few weeks. You have to come to the mature loan officer who's going to tell you right up front, you know what, I don't do that, but you know what, I've been in the business long enough and I know this guy over here, they do those type of loans, or might be able to do that loan for you.
And I hope to be working with you going forward. It's always good to have more than one. I have one that I've been working with religiously this past year, and I think that's why I use him so much, is because he figures out avenues that others will just shut down on. Yeah,
they don't want to spend any time or do some research. A lot of times an agent might have a question. So you know what? I actually had one yesterday. Agent called and said, hey, we've got a above ground pool that's made in ground. They dug a hole and put it in the ground.
Okay.
So I haven't actually got the answer on that one yet, because I've never run across that actually before, but it doesn't surprise me that someone has done that, dug a hole and put an in-ground, above ground pool, probably installed it themselves in the ground. And obviously I don't see that adding any value to a home.
Yeah.
Because I don't think above ground pool that you can buy it, well, we used to be able to buy them at Sears, right?
Walmart,
is really adding any value. But we get those questions all the time, and it's like, you know what? I have actually never dealt with that before. Let me call some other guys because they may have dealt with that. Yeah.
I love, like, if I don't know the answer to something, I don't know the answer. Let me figure it out for you, rather than pretending I know the answer, faking it, or just giving an answer.
Your maturity gets you there, because you find out when you start not being honest, I guess, if you want to tell it, have that integrity, it comes back and snaps you in the butt.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's going to get you. Well, you told me that, so to have, obviously, to have the resources in the lending world, because not every lender does every deal. Doesn't mean that deal can't be done. It's just that lender doesn't do. And condos are starting to be, I think, a lot of, with the not necessarily restrictions, but the law changes in the condos.
Law changes are.
A lot of lenders have. Florida condos have always been a. I remember back in 2008 and 9 and so forth, there was many lenders that got out. No condos in Florida. They wouldn't do anything to do with the condo in Florida. So that world's unique, and you need to have that lender that obviously is open, and I think there's a good amount of lenders that'll do condos, but there's also a good amount that won't. So if you get a no on a condo, you just need to research a loan officer that can get it done and has a good condo team, because it's not the loan officer getting it done. It's the people, the operations people behind the scenes getting it done. Consistency.
Yes.
What do you feel, and maybe you've evolved this, what do you think you're doing consistently in your business that moves the needle for you?
Consistently, I am in communication with everyone that's working with me. Like, there's no day off. I am consistently, I think some agents, not all, will throw a for sale sign up and, hope it sells. Like, I am consistently marketing your home. I am consistently following up with the seller or buyer. I am consistently, I have like a routine that I've set for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it takes a special personality to be a successful real estate agent. And I think that's why that ratio is 12% only really continue in the business, because you need to set your schedule and hold yourself accountable every day on being successful. So I wake up every morning and I look for all my buyers. Every morning I am on the computer. I know every new listing that hits the market. I'm very knowledgeable on every listing that I think they may like. I do my research before I just send it to them.
Right.
Like, if I know you can't afford those taxes or that HOA, I'm not even going to send it your way to disappoint you.
Right.
So yeah, doing my due diligence every morning, marketing all my listings every single day. And I know they say, what is the word? They say, call everybody in your sphere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not calling people saying, hi, did you know I'm a real estate agent to all my friends every day. But my version of that is talking about real estate, and whoever wants to listen will listen.
Right.
But I'm not contacting people that I used to talk to in high school and saying, hey, did you know I'm a realtor? Just wanted to touch base, want to get coffee. Like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
Every sales training class.
Well, plus most of them are not in town, so.
Yeah, well, they don't live here, so
Right.
yeah. No, that's my consistency.
Right. To kind of spin off that, taking from your years in, working as a trainer in the business of training, running sales teams and that sort of stuff in that arena. Obviously, we talked very early about the relationship part and how that obviously helped you in the training world by building, because you're working personally with people. But what is something else that you've taken from that world that you've implemented into your real estate business, so to speak? I think you were tipping on it a little bit, but I want you to be a little bit more direct. You know, the getting up in the morning and going to work type of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you have to get up and go to work as a realtor. You can't just sit back and hope that something lands in your lap or someone calls you. So yeah, I definitely have a strict schedule that I follow every single day to make sure that I'm staying consistent and in the loop. But I think what made me successful in the personal training world and what I do in the real estate world is staying on top of education. I do not know it all. There's always something I could be learning more. I'm always looking for what extra CEs I could get. I would love to get more into commercial. I have quite a few investors that I've been working with, and finding out how much revenue certain properties bring in, and what expenses are going to look like for them. I'm every day trying to look on how I could know more. I use Closing Bear, who I love, for title.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I go to a closing with them, they're educating me on something new that I now could bring value to my next client. So I think continuing education in whatever field you're in is crucial. Like, there's always, you don't know it all. Like, any agent that is a know-it-all is not going to be successful. There's always room to grow. There's always something new to learn. Every business evolves. Real estate definitely has evolved and changed over the years. Things don't just fly off the shelves here right now. Things are sitting a little longer. You need to be creative. You need to figure out better negotiation skills. Like, is it just the offer, or can we also look for credits from the lender to help them with this lowball offer? Can we look at, our commission? Can we look at a seller concession? Can we look at, is the house going to appraise? Is there an appraisal contingency in there? There's other avenues to explore. Nothing's black and white. Nothing's cut and dry. So I think, being educated and knowledgeable to figure things out for your client is important.
You bring up something, and I deal with this often on my side in putting the transaction together, because obviously we some basic questions. Any loan officers, well, okay, you want to buy this home, great. Well, how much money you have available to do this, right? And a lot of people say, well, how much money do you have? No, that's not the question. The question is, how much money are you willing to put into it?
Yeah.
Because that's where they want to be. They may have a lot of money because they're in their head. They're thinking, I want to fix up the house. I want to do this, or I have
money to do this.
I have this future expense coming, and I can't come off that money. So, getting some of these details so that you are working the deal in making the offer properly, and then knowing you're going into negotiations like, this is what my client needs. He wants to be here. Now, maybe I get him to stretch. Maybe he comes up with a couple more $1,000s or whatever. But do I need seller concessions? I often find myself as the lender, which I should be making a recommendation, calling the agent back and saying, okay, I've got them. They can do this. They want the payment to be somewhere in this area. So this is the price range that you kind of want to be, higher, lower, depending on taxes, insurance, and everything. They have some money to work with, but I suggest you get seller concessions. In my mind, I'm providing that service, but really the agent also needs to be having that very similar conversation because one, you're the one face to face, and they are going to tell you why, I may have $20,000, but I really, if I could not come off anything, do whether it's a VA loan or we have an FHA 100% product, doing something like that. So I have that 20 grand because we want to redo the kitchen or whatever it is they want to spend that money on. And if you don't get there unless you're kind of digging through those questions, because the buyer oftentimes doesn't know what to tell you.
Yes. And I feel like you need to be, I've done this a few times where I've had my loan officer and I've had my client, and we get on a 3-way call together. We're a team. We need to work together. Like on this, they want this home. They can't afford this home. How can we make them be able to afford the home? And we play with numbers together and figure it out. Like, I don't necessarily know how much cash my client has. That's, information sent over to the loan officer.
Right.
So I feel like sometimes opening up that conversation, we could be creative together. And I've gotten people into homes that they were told is not going to happen.
I'll tag on to that too. That kind of conversation also builds credibility. A lot of times you're referring a loan officer they never see.
Yeah.
Maybe they see him at closing, but they're having this conversation. They're emailing. You're building that credibility. What I will tell you, agents that are listening, never ever talk about interest rate in front of your customer and the loan officer. Do not talk about it.
Don't talk about the interest rate.
Do not talk about the interest rate. Do not start probing the loan officers if you're the customer. You need to be positive. You need to be, asking questions for the customer in a sense of, hey, how much should they approximately have for closing costs and settlement? Which most, you guys see just as many Altas as we do, actually more. So what a $400,000 house, the range of what it's going to be in tax and insurance, because you sold other $400,000 homes. Okay, so now we'll work that up for you, but you don't put your loan officer on the spot right there, because obviously when you start talking about interest rate, now all of a sudden, oh, is that interest rate good? Now they're shopping interest rate versus the quality of service that you're delivering.
Yes,
that's what I was getting at.
Yeah. No, I could agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. I think it's important that it's a team effort on every transaction. And there's a lot of people on the team for a transaction.
Yes.
And I've called my title company several times with a lot of creative questions, how to word things on a contract, or how can I negotiate this, and you need help. Like, you need to lean on other people to work certain
You were talking about
out.
the education. I want to make a point, and I'll let you make the point because I think you'll make it for me. How important is it when especially if there's a lunch and learn at Herron or the title company, or maybe you go down to NEFAR and actually take the course, the importance of meeting the other real estate agents?
Meeting other agents. I mean, you could definitely learn from other agents. Everyone's had success with different things, have tried different things, and you could hear those stories and definitely learn from them.
Well, knowing, you weren't in the business when they were getting. Well, I'm sure you've had multiple offers on some of your listings.
Yeah.
So
working
with it, knowing who's on the other end of the deal, is a little, makes things a little mentally easier.
I felt really bad for one of the buyers on my listing because I knew what was happening.
Their agent wasn't up to par.
Nope, it was a really low ball offer. And then they came to full what we wanted, but then come inspection, asked for all that money back, and we said no. So it's like I have a strong
Was there that many repairs?
I had a very strong feeling that the agent was like, "Don't worry, I'll get it for you on
inspection."
And
trying to cut the corner real quick.
That did not happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important who's on the other end of the deal. I've had the pleasure of working with some amazing agents that live in our neighborhood.
Actually many. Now it's 2025, but probably before 2020, almost every great real estate agent in St. Johns County had lived in St. Johns Golf and Country Club at one time. Yes, I have just I know a lot of them that I've talked to over the years. Oh yeah, we moved in there in 2003 and we lived there for 3 years or whatever. Yeah.
Can I name drop on here or no?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Okay, so you know the Watt team.
Yeah.
Bruce was my neighbor.
Yeah.
And he's part of the reason why I was like really aggressively getting into real estate. He was mowing his lawn between that lake, and we started gabbing and talking, and I was his new neighbor, and he's like, "You'd be really good at real estate." I'm like, "Well, I'm actually studying for my test," and we talked a lot about it, and I ran into him at the gym the other day, and I was like, my business finally kicked off. I was like, thanks for the, all the chats that we've had, and I buy lock boxes from him and signs from him, and but yeah, we've had some real amazing teams within our neighborhood.
Yes.
And I was like going into this like, oh my God, everyone's a realtor. Like, how am I gonna do well? And I don't get upset if another realtor from our neighborhood gets one of our listings. Like, I'll find the buyer. I want to be on the other end of it.
Right.
Where I think some people do. Like,
I don't believe, and I keep telling my wife, but she doesn't want. I mean, there's no one to me in my mind that's actually like farming our neighborhood.
No.
Actually, I don't know any. I'm sure there's agents out there listening. Call me and direct message me if you're farming a neighborhood. Really fun, because St. John's Golf and Country Club, and not the only one. There's other neighborhoods that are hot like that. I'm sure there's 20 Mile, Nocatee, and so forth. Yeah. That where agents are really focused in, that they are putting the blogs and so forth online, that they are the experts in that hood. And I think there's gold to be found in those cracks.
Well, I've gotten a lot of business in our neighborhood, but by no intent of poaching.
Well, not poaching, but really, there was a while there, and I'm trying to think. I don't think if it was Pam or Lisa Minton, I think was doing it. This was years ago, probably over a decade ago, where she was doing the regular mailers, like, hey, this is what recently sold in the neighborhood, that's that type of thing. And coming across, because those types of things, people come across it, hey, this must be the expert. They know everything that's being sold all the time because they don't know any better. Yeah. And they're getting this monthly or quarterly postcard that's saying this is what's sold in the neighborhood, and call me and I'll price out your home.
Yeah, I haven't done any mailers in our neighborhood.
I had not seen any of that anytime recently. In our neighborhood. In our neighborhood's one of the hottest because it's got LPA and obviously Beachside High and
I like that it's established. I like that. I come from Long Island. Beautiful tree-lined streets. So like when I came out here, I was a little shell-shocked looking at these newer communities. Like I was told, you want to be in Nocatee by the agent that I was using when I was coming out here, or you want to be in Beach Walk. Look at the Blue Lagoon, and not saying that any of these neighborhoods are bad, but me personally, I wanted to feel like home. I was leaving home, not because I really wanted to, because I felt like I had to at that time, and I wanted to feel like home. So when I drove through St. John's Golf, I was like, just the tree-lined streets, and I just was like, oh, this is where I want to be. It just was a feeling, and I hated the house that we bought. I literally bought out of desperation.
Which a lot of people were at that time.
Yeah. So, and I eventually now am in the home that I absolutely love. But yeah, no, I definitely think that St. John's Golf has a special feeling that you don't get in every community.
I want to touch on here before we finish up, Herron, I have a little corner of my heart. I love their organization that they've got going over there. Christine, David, and then the other leadership there. You didn't start there.
No, started at Caldwell.
Okay. Tell us your segue, because I think this is very important for agents out there who maybe are out on their first brokerage and just aren't feeling it, or if you're studying to take the test and haven't signed up with anybody, you're going to make that first brokerage choice. What led you to Caldwell initially?
I will be so honest with you. Caldwell is not like a strong name in New York, from my understanding. So it was not the name. I didn't pick that brokerage because of the name. I just started interviewing with brokerages, and I chose the manager that I felt most comfortable with because I was a new agent, and I think it's very important for any new agent to work with somebody that you can call at any hour with a question, that you won't feel uncomfortable asking silly, stupid questions that you think, as a new agent,
that you think
know.
Are silly and stupid, because they're not.
Leslie was my boss I love her, and she was the perfect fit for me. And I said that at the table. I said, where do I knew I was giving up a lot of commission working for a bigger brokerage like that. And I'm like, where do I sign? I feel like she was my mama bear. Like I could lean on her as a new agent and make sure that I could ask all the questions that needed to be asked on my first few transactions. And I got what I needed, and I had a great experience there. But I was, doing my own lead generation. I preferred to do my own marketing. And that's where I was like, Herron, it was a place that I could definitely get education and answer questions, but it's more of a place where I felt like I could hang my license and run my business.
Right.
And I've had a great experience.
Because you graduated to that.
Yeah, I don't
stage.
think I could have just jumped into a Herron. I feel like I needed to work with somebody personally, have a close relationship with somebody that I could lean on as a new agent.
Well, and I think because I think a lot of agents cut themselves short. As you said, I think you said before the show, 12% make it, right?
Yeah, that was the statistic in the class. I was like, what?
Yeah, well, I knew it was 80. I always use 80. 20%. 80% drop out before their first renewal. So it's a high turnover rate because so many are actually going, oh, okay, hold on a second. I'm going to get this. If I sell this house, I'm going to get this check for this amount of money, but I got to cut some of that to the person who is covering all my compliance, who maybe has a transaction coordinator attending on the brokerage.
Franchise fee.
They're bringing in training. I have someone I can call to because I can't call the instructor that just taught me down at NEFAR, but that are coaching me up, and their success is my success. If I don't sell nothing, I could sit in their classes all day long, and they will teach you till they're blue in the face, until you don't show up anymore, and they never actually get anything until you actually sell a home.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people cut themselves short because they're I call it stepping over the quarter to pick up the nickel. It's like, hold on, just slow down a minute. You don't know squat about this business. You need something to ramp yourself up. And then eventually, there's a lot of teams at the big brokerages. I always mention Christina. I've known Christina since before she started her team and so forth. And before my wife was in the business, she sold my in-laws to live in the neighborhood. It took her a while. Many agents have come on her team and have gone on or dropped out of the business or whatever because they got on a team. She poured so much into them until she finally got it right, and her team's strong and big now. And now all that the story's history. But the agent's got to really think through that process.
Yeah.
Do I know enough about this business, or do I need a coach? Well, how much is that coach going to cost me? Because that's really what you're paying out of my mind, which you should be thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew that. I knew that going in, that I was going to be giving up quite a chunk, and they don't necessarily feed you leads or anything like that. But I felt like that's what I needed.
Well, you'd pay more for that. You'd have to.
No one.
There's no free leads. You're going to pay. Yeah.
So I was, when you're an agent, you think, oh, I'm going to work for this brokerage and I'm going to go in and there's going to be leads distributed and that's how I'll start my business. No, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like you go in and you fend for yourself, but I needed to have the right people in my corner so that I was successful on maybe the one transaction I did my first year. So this way I could get referrals. If I didn't have the right backbone on my first transaction, the rest of my transactions were going to fall apart.
Well, so, I think some of the things you said today in the word came to my mind. I was going to bring it up, but I didn't want to interrupt you. What we were just talking about, the education part, it was something you were mentioning earlier, which made me think of this word sooner, but the confidence. You have to have that
have
someone
to.
behind you, if you don't know the answer, you're going to call them and get the answer. That gives you confidence. Your experience in flipping houses helps you, I'm sure, go in and evaluate for someone like, oh yeah, we love this house, but we really like a new kitchen. Well, in your mind, you probably already calculating what that's actually going to cost them. I think a lot of agents need that, and they don't necessarily need it by going out and learning flipping homes themselves, but they maybe need to start talking to some contractors and say, hey, what does a job like that cost?
Yeah.
Or you want a job right now? Can I come by and see what you're doing? Maybe you refer them business later because somebody is looking to do that. But you need to constantly be building up that knowledge, because the bottom line is, it's confidence that you're building up for yourself.
And having the right people in your corner definitely gives you the confidence in the business.
What do you love about Herron?
What do I love about Herron? They are very open to questions, which I thought it wasn't going to be like that. I thought, being their model that they do have, I was like, oh, I'm going to be on my own. It's not like that actually at all, which is what I thought. They have training schedules every week. When these new contracts rolled out August 17th, I'm like, oh my God, I just started like kicking things off, and now I got to relearn all these contracts. They had tons of classes to roll it out. And I was there with them printed in my hand. We went over line by line. And I feel like I'm with some great leaders in there. There's some really strong agents that I look up to, that are a part of Herron. And that was with my other brokerage too. Like there definitely was admiration with other agents that helped me strive to do better. And what are they doing? You
like the comfortability, obviously, a physical office. You're going there when they're to go to the trainings that you want to go to, or masterminds.
I felt more than welcome to go to trainings that they had.
Because I think it's not to knock some of the I call them cloud brokerages or whatever, the Reals, the EXPs, LPTs. Although the LPT, the biggest LPT group, has an office. They're grouping, but there's agents that can, which you've got enough experience. You probably could survive going to a Real without having the physical office and so forth.
Yeah.
But there is a thing to know that, hey, here's a space that we have. People are there all the time. We can walk in, whatever, get supplies, whatever, print something off, whatever it may be. But there's regular, when they have a space, there's regular trainings. Do you go to every one? Probably not, but you select the ones you want to go to. And you just have this, that there's a home. And I think a majority of the agents fall into that category of comfortability, which gives them confidence when they're comfortable, and versus some agents are looking at, well, what's my split? What am I getting? What am I getting here? Well, there's no free lunch.
Yeah.
So, if there's no landing strip, well, it's probably cheaper because there's nowhere. If it's a dirt landing strip versus a concrete one, well, the concrete one probably costs you a little bit more.
Yep.
No,
I thought it would be less hands-on being at Herron, and it's not. It's actually very hands-on. They're very involved. I have David's cell phone number. I've texted him several times. I've been on the phone with him several times on transactions. I didn't think it was going to be like that, but they definitely have doors open, and they have a great module, with everything, with marketing, with training schedules, with awards and recognition. Like, they do it all. It's not what I thought it was going to be. It's better.
That's another thing. Some people thrive on that recognition stuff. I know that.
I do.
They had their
pat on the back. You're lying if you don't.
When you get old enough, then it's just like, okay, does that actually increase my check? You're a younger crowd. You're into the trophy. Just give me the check.
And my kids are very different. I would say one of them loves the recognition, and one could care less. And it's a personality trait, I think.
Anything you'd like to add?
Any new agent that's thinking about getting into real estate, I think you need to go in with the mindset that it's going to take a minute. Not to give up. It's the people that don't give up that succeed, because they're, over the 3 years of me starting, it has not been consistent. It has not been easy, and the only thing that led me to where I am now is giving it my all on whether it's a tiny transaction, one transaction. Give it your all. Give that person 100%, and it will pay off in a big way.
Grit.
Grit. I can't wait for this book.
Yes, you